Hello and welcome to Xena Warrior Podcast Minisodes. My name is Vera and I'm joined as always by my two ravenous co-hosts, Katie.
Hello.
And Livy.
Hello.
Are you excited to do a spooky episode?
Ooh, Halloween.
Spooky scary.
Yes, spooky scary.
Yes, I'm always ready for scary stuff, as you know.
Yay. This is our Halloween episode.
We're dressed in the costumes of podcasters.
Yes, who don't leave their homes.
Oh my goodness. Isn't that a costume every day? We have a fun prompt today for our minisode.
Yes, for Patreon.
Our patron Martina wants us to record a minisode about the Resident Evil series.
Nice.
Excellent.
This
Which
is exciting.
Which is scary.
It
So
is
it fits.
scary.
That's why it's Halloween now.
Yeah, it's Halloween. The Resident Evil has zombies.
It does.
It does.
It does indeed.
No one's gonna sing the song.
Zombies.
That one?
Zombies.
Yeah.
It sounds like Alanis was doing her cover of
I
Cranberries.
have one impression, which is not even very accurate.
Miley Cyrus just did a cover of that
Really?
on the internet. It was good.
That's awesome. I have to say that when the TikTok came out,
I believe it.
the TikTok of the guy on the skateboard singing "Dreams" with cranberry juice, I thought was him singing "Cranberries Dreams."
Oh.
I completely understand why you would have assumed that.
Yeah, and I have to say I was slightly disappointed. Although I am a huge Fleetwood Mac fan, so it was fine.
That's
It's
really
fine,
funny.
guys. It's fine.
Did you see Stevie did the thing where she put her boots on, her skates on, sitting at her piano?
She would, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
Trying to outdo
Mick, obviously, Mick was on the
he
skateboard too,
did
I
it.
think, in probably Hawaii. It's a good time.
Stevie
internet.
doesn't actually get on the skateboard. That's a
She
bridge
would,
too far.
She would hurt herself.
No, oh, no, I love her so much.
Yeah,
Oh my
protect
God.
her, please.
Oh.
Okay, so Resident Evil. Oh,
The zombie dogs are here. Who let the zombie dogs out?
zombie Frenchies.
The most vicious of the zombie dogs.
He is our liquor.
Oh, wait, we should also say off the top too, since this is our Spooky Halloween Week episode, we'll also go into a little bit more about stuff we're watching for this October month of scary
Spooktober.
movies and other horror franchises and things that we enjoy, as well as this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We are big horror people.
Yes.
You may have noticed.
Yeah.
This is
our time.
One of our favorite genres to discuss.
And hoping that the podcast prompt is for the movies, but
That's true. We did not.
we will also talk about games a little bit. Yes.
All right, let's pause and deal with our little zombie here.
Oh.
Okay, so we've made our blood sacrifice to the hellhound. He is appeased.
But yes, video games.
Yes. We're hoping this is not about the
Talk
video
about that.
games.
No,
It's kind of
it
where
all
we're
is
saying.
part of it.
Bring
Part of
them
it.
up.
Yeah.
Sure,
None of
this
us
is.
have played them.
Yep, that's why we're hoping it's
Really
not.
long time, but
But we have seen them
the
all.
movies. The
Yeah,
movies.
some of us have seen all of them. So there you go.
Yeah.
Resident Evil. Let's begin.
Yeah,
What's the deal with this? What is it?
Did you know it's the longest running film franchise based on a video game?
I did.
Wow.
Oh wait, and it's also the most profitable.
And the most
And it's
profitable.
continuing to keep going and going and going.
I guess that's true. The new stuff counts as a continuation.
Well, someone's getting paid for it, so yeah.
Yeah.
In the sense that, for the makers of the the video game who are getting paid for everything.
Yeah, they're making a Netflix show.
Yeah.
That's the newest thing.
Cool.
Yeah,
Alright.
plus another movie, a prequel.
A prequel to the original Resident Evil, or is it to a prequel of the video games?
I don't know. This is the one with Robbie Amell.
That's a movie.
right.
It's a movie, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one with
yeah.
Kaya.
Oh, I thought that was
Yes.
the Netflix show. I
Oh.
can't keep this stuff straight. There's so much.
I thought that was
there.
separate from
To the Google.
Well, anyway, that's definitely happening.
Well,
So-
what I know about that one is that, maybe this is a good segue, that it is going to be more faithful to the games themselves, which are different than the movies in one major way. Like the original games came out in like around the same time as early Xena, yes, like
1996.
96, yeah. So this is kind of happening concurrently in the video game world, and it's a Japanese game, and it's called Biohazard in other countries, and then they thought that would not really fly as a title in the United States, and changed it to Resident Evil.
Which is a cool title.
Yeah, it is very cool.
I like it.
I like it a lot. And, like, the biggest difference with the game and the movie, which is, like, so iconic for me, having, like, you know, seen the movie first, is that Milla Jovovich's character is not from the games at all.
Yeah.
It's, like, 100% from the movies. And I think that's, like, a controversial thing with, like, the video game lovers.
Yep.
So there are, like, characters from the games and, like, references to the games that appear, but Capcom, who, like, makes the games, like, they only appear in so many films, and then, like, couldn't appear in the last one because they were, like, not allowed to kill them off and all that stuff.
That makes
so, like,
sense.
the main characters in the game are Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield.
Yeah.
You can play as them. You can choose. So obviously, I feel like you should pick the lady just because. And then there's other characters you can play too. But yeah, I feel like I played one of them once a long time ago, maybe. Or am I confusing it with Silent Hill?
You're confusing it with Silent Hill.
I have played Silent Hill.
I know you guys had it for PS2.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I do actually really want to play them because I think of the three of us, I am into the survival horror video game
Yeah, you love
genre,
zombies.
and thus think that I would love to play these. And I know that they've redone the first three fairly recently as like more modern games.
Yeah, and people really like those.
Yeah,
And
so
I
like
think
I want to do that.
Resident Evil 7 also somewhat recently was more of like a first-person like survival horror, like kind of in that classic format.
Where you can't like the amnesia stuff.
Yeah,
where
you know,
don't
in a
see
spooky
yourself.
house. Yeah.
I love a spooky house.
Oh yeah, well, who doesn't? I much prefer a spooky house to zombies, which is why this is not my franchise.
You don't like zombies at all.
Yeah, I don't know if that has ever come up in the podcast because I don't think there ever were any zombies on Xena.
On Xena?
Somehow.
We
You'd think
probably
they'd made it.
I
in
feel like we
somehow.
brought up.
We've mentioned it, I feel like
Something,
somehow.
yeah.
But if you hadn't known, if you didn't know, audience, Liv does not like zombies.
No, I have a high tolerance for horror in general, but I don't do zombies. I had this like I was just like traumatized by 28 Days Later, which I'm sure will come into this conversation because it came out the same year as Resident Evil. And yeah, I just realized that like I can't do like infections and pandemic drama, which I feel like zombies, at least in that format, really are just like a horror riff on pandemic media, which obviously this is a very ironic conversation to be
Right.
having now. I've been saying this for years and people are sort of like, oh, that's weird. Okay, that's the thing you're scared of. Fine. And now it's like, oh, well, yeah.
Well, for me, zombies, I kind of like lost the taste for them.
I see.
After gazillions of episodes of Walking Dead where
Sure.
nothing like ever happened.
Really, Walking Dead.
I think Walking. I feel like
zombies for you.
after Walking Dead, I was like, "There's literally nothing you can do with zombies that's new anymore. It's all the same."
And they'll be back, but I think that is what happens
They'll
with
be
genre.
back.
Is that like there's like
Yeah.
It gets played
renaissance
out, yeah.
and I think Walking Dead certainly had a huge hand in playing them
Yeah,
out
just,
more
especially because
recently.
Walking Dead's like not good, and therefore
Yeah.
it's really just really became more about like, oh, look at the ridiculous zombie we can come up with for the week, and
Right.
that's not
Which
what you should be doing.
is they're really good at the makeup, Greg Nicotero, but
Cool.
yes, that's not all I want.
That's
out
not
of
what I watch it for.
television.
That's for sure.
But yeah, zombie metaphor as as Contagion is a big one. So I can see why you do not like them.
Oh, man.
They're metaphors for all kinds of things.
I have seen Resident Evil, you guys. I can't talk about it. I have not seen most of the other films in this series. I think I have seen Extinction.
Which one is that?
That's the apocalyptic kind of Mad Maxy one.
That's the okay.
That's a good one.
So I'll be nodding and smiling a lot for this. But yeah. I mean these are, the zombies are not that scary.
No.
They're pretty goofy.
The two movies sort of that we mentioned, Resident Evil and the Mad Max Resident Evil, they're the ones who I feel like still kind of try to do stuff with good character stuff regarding the zombies, and after that, I mean, like, the zombies aren't hardly a part of
they're sort of just
it's
CGI
weird.
monsters to fight. Yeah,
but those are the first one and that's the third one, right? The Apocalypse or
Extinction is the third. Apocalypse. The things escalate really quickly in the Resident Evil universe. Right. So Apocalypse is the second out of 6 movies.
Okay.
Oh, and I learned a fact about the video games that, like, immediately that is super divergent from the canon of the games, in that the movies just immediately jump to this, like, really intense post-apocalyptic future, and the games don't.
Interesting. The games are more set in,
I guess so,
like struggling against. Yeah, the games seem a lot more into the sort of like paranoia, corporate espionage angle, like that, which is cool. It's a very to me that felt actually very like modern, going back to 2002's Resident Evil and finding out this one corporation controls everything and is doing all sorts of shady shit because they're unconcerned for human lives. I was like, yeah. We know.
Well, where should we really, like, jump in here?
I think we should jump in with the protagonists of the franchise, maybe, because I think that that's, like, the biggest in for us, and then also maybe something like connective tissue in the air at the time with women in genre, I feel like, because we have Xena, of course, which people like, I think, that are listening, in the late 90s, and then sort of some of these early action-y games that have female protagonists in them, which I think Resident Evil is one, with Jill Valentine, and then, like, Tomb Raider, which is what I was going to say, which is maybe one of the only other, like, the most recent one was a pretty good video game movie.
Except they changed the plot to a
But, like, mostly
place.
Video game movies are quite bad. Like, and especially if you look at the list of them, like, there are actually less than I feel like I thought there were, and they're all,
not Mortal Kombat.
These,
also directed by Paul W.S. Anderson.
Yes.
Who directed this?
Back when he was known as Paul Anderson.
But not Paul Thomas Anderson.
That is why.
Oh my
you
God.
hit the nail on the head. Paul, this is like so petty and hilarious. One of them has registered the name Paul Anderson with the Writers Guild.
Oh God.
And the other has registered Paul Anderson with the Directors Guild.
Oh no.
And guess what? They're both auteurs. They're both writer-directors. So they can never credit themselves with having written and directed a movie as Paul Anderson.
LOL.
So they both have made up these other names.
Wow.
Paul W.S. Anderson and Paul Thomas Anderson.
Excellent. Very nice. What was I saying? Oh, ladies.
Yeah. Ladies.
This is a long, convoluted way of saying that I think that, like, there's the mold kind of going on where you're going from the late 90s and the early 2000s when the first movie came out in 2002 when they introduced Alice to the franchise with Milla Jovovich, like this kind of like the kick-ass lady in the cool dress and boots and like can also fight and is really badass and fun, and we like that here at Xena Warrior Podcast, I think.
Yeah.
And like one of the things that like jumped out to me is like that like style, her costume is very iconic. That like red dress with the boots, which is like just before Firefly, which like River had that like same outfit. I feel like there's something in the air.
And also the same kind of amnesia thing.
Same kind of amnesia thing. There's sort of something in the air right now.
Yeah. You know Joss Whedon loved to take from all the things that exist. Resident Evil did it first.
Yeah. But this is like, and like Lara Croft also very cool. Like this is like this sort of, you know, we're in that era of the girl power like fighting stuff, like very, you know, I think we have moved on from there. It has been, you know, 20 years.
Yeah.
But like I do feel like that was like when I was growing up, and we had Xena and we had Buffy and we had all these people. So like I think Resident Evil kind of like fits in there. It's just a slightly different genre, different mediums, but like with these very cool protagonists that are female protagonists.
So let's talk a little bit about Milla.
Yes.
Vera, I believe you've brought her into the conversation before. I feel like whenever Joan of Arc comes up.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, I was rewatching Resident Evil and I was like, man, remember Joan of Arc? The Messenger. Yeah, I feel like I go way back with Milla. She was like one of my first IMDb experiences, and I think I said this before, but The Fifth Element was like the first movie I saw twice in a theater in America, which was like really big deal.
There's a kick-ass action protagonist.
Of course,
yes.
And I was like very hooked on Milla. So
who also kind of has amnesia? I don't know. It was confusing.
No, but there's a straight up Lilu moment in Resident Evil, which is hilarious.
One of Milla's skills is a kind of like twitching on the floor,
waking up, speaking a weird language,
hammering on glass,
wearing weird bandages that are sometimes high, like haute couture, and then sometimes like just a napkin.
She was wearing a napkin in Resident Evil. She was wearing it very well. I don't know if anyone could wear a napkin as well as Milla.
No one can. But yeah, so like this was a really big, the first movie was really big for me because it not only had her, but also Michelle Rodriguez, who I also was like loved at that point.
Who had just done Fast and the Furious
right,
at this point. Very baby.
Yes.
And probably Girl Fight not long ago.
Girl Fight is from, yeah, exactly. And she, in fact, at that point was hired a lot for her, like, I don't even know how to describe it. She has like this way of staring up through her eyes that is really creepy. She does that iconically in Girl Fight. I think she does that in Fast and Furious. And she definitely does it in this one.
She's a very intense stare, which is
it's like like her head is tilted down, but the eyes look up and it freaks you out. It's a thing she does. She stopped doing it, but that's okay.
She stopped doing it.
Yeah,
all right.
She was typecast for that.
Okay.
I think. But anyway, yeah. So combined a lot of my like faves, and then rewatching it now, it was strange. Just how many moments were like iconic or like that you know so well.
I think this is a very like it's one of the very few examples of a fun. It is certainly. I feel like I don't want to say it's like dated, but it certainly is of a time and place.
Yeah.
But it still feels really fun. And like as far as video game movies go, I think it's like one of the few successful ones that like really capture like a mood. I don't think it's capturing the mood of the video game, but I think it's just capturing like its own very specific mood.
That's the thing, right? So I definitely do not play these games, so I have zero connection to them. And like, in fact,
much more chill
when Jill Valentine was introduced and you find out she's the main character, like we were like, whoa.
Were you offended? Were you
because she's not that great.
I think that
like in the movie, and it's like
playing Jill Valentine. Apologize to anyone who does not like. Though I mean that's their favorite, I'm sure.
I mean,
the games.
I don't know. Like for me, I was like really happy just with how far away from the source I guess it is. And then, in fact, anytime it was something video gamey, I was like, because it's so good on its own.
Yeah. The movie like just has these like it kind of goes from like one set piece to another of like very like fun, sometimes scary, maybe not so much, but like sometimes scary sequences.
It's definitely a little scary, I would say.
I don't think anything was like, oh my god, I'm like terrified,
no, it's
but
not, like,
it does get you emotionally.
Fear, but like it.
You worry for the
tension.
characters.
Yeah.
That's what it does really well. Is that it does make you care for these characters. And I think like as franchises go along, it's a lot harder for you to care for anyone because a lot of people are just introduced to be like the fodder, you know. So you didn't care for these people, some of them.
Yeah. The most famous set piece is probably the one with the lasers.
The laser scene.
Laser scene, yes.
And I was so impressed by this because I only really remembered the final, the big death in it, which is ridiculous.
But so great.
But, like, I love that sort of like built that sequence. Like first they're like evading the lasers and
Yep.
there's just like little lasers going and you're like, oh, like Mission Impossible, they
Right.
can handle this. And then
Just
sort of
jump.
a little like a video game, like the difficulty level gets higher and higher until there's an impossible like grid of lasers which
Grid of
cut you
lasers.
up like the top of a pie.
Sad.
Yeah. The other set piece is the zombie dog.
Yeah.
The zombie dogs.
There's one that's very cute. It's covered in stuff. It's a real dog.
Yeah, I love they actually used a real dog.
Well, this was like, if you watch the movies kind of like back to back, the dogs, they started like CGIing the zombiness on them, but if you watch the first movie, it's like they put spaghetti on the dog.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like hilarious looking.
Which
stuff.
I always prefer the spaghetti because it does look a little gross, even if it's clear that this dog has just been covered in goo and is having a great day, is having the best time.
Yeah, there was a fact on IMDb that was like the dogs wouldn't stop eating the stuff off of them.
Aw, poor doggo.
They
That's
liked
cute.
it. They thought it was yummy.
But yeah.
But they were all over the ad campaign. I
Yeah.
remember that from 2002. It
Yeah.
was all like Milla drop kicking a dog.
The dog, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It took her 3 months, you said.
Yeah,
and
to learn that
drop
little
kick, whatever.
stunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good
It's
stunt.
a really
yeah.
good stunt. Running
Yeah.
up the wall, slow-mo kick.
Yeah.
And she does a bunch of them too in like, in true fashion of, I'm sure there were some dangerous ones she did not do, of course.
Yeah,
like all
yeah.
props to stunt people. As we know,
course.
coming from Xena, stunt people need all of the props.
Yeah.
But yeah, she did. You said there was like one fact that
Yeah, there
she's
was-
like cuts on her face are real
Yep.
from all her stunt work. Yikes!
That must be a continuity nightmare.
It must be,
like,
yeah.
what?
Yeah. So the first movie looked really cool. It had the really cool like set of I don't know, it was like Beast's castle, but like not in France.
Oh yeah.
That is
I was
so
like,
funny.
I didn't know what you're talking about for a second. Yeah, it starts in like.
Like a weird mansion, but the dining room was straight up from the Beauty and the Beast.
And
Yeah,
then
the
beneath
logistics
the weird
are odd.
mansion is an underground facility
The
that
Hive.
is also like an office building.
I know,
Yeah.
it's
Because
really
you see
weird.
it in the opening and it looks like it's just a regular office, but then
Yeah.
suddenly it's like an underground
Yeah.
facility like beneath a mansion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like how they had to do like a train, and there was like it just felt like its own place. It wasn't
Yeah.
like somewhere that a city that
Yeah, I think
Raccoon
I
City
think,
was its own
like,
thing.
As much as like, okay, I feel like the first movie is really good, and then say what you will about like the rest of them, it's like a 6-movie franchise that gets increasingly ridiculous, right? But like,
And it starts at a pretty high level of ridiculousness.
right? But it,
I thought
like,
it was fine.
it's all really fun.
Yeah.
Like I actually do recommend. I would recommend watching them all.
I would recommend watching definitely the first one, the third one, and maybe the final one. And I would say the same thing with their competitor franchise, Underworld.
I can't believe it
That's
took this long to bring in Underworld.
I know.
I honestly, I feel like
Yeah.
for a while was not sure, like, that I thought maybe the same director made them both. They are so like in tune as like one in my head. I'm just like, we had to literally look them up to prove that Len Wiseman and Paul W.S. Anderson are
two different dudes
with different careers, but who have both married the lead actors in their
like
respective
Rob
franchises.
Tapper and Lucy.
Yeah.
Another Xena connected piece of stuff. I don't know. I just look for connections where I can.
It is. I just really, I really want to talk about Underworld versus Resident Evil. But we could finish talking about actual Resident Evil first.
Yeah, I mean they have a similar aesthetic.
Yeah.
like just a vibe. I don't know what to call it. It's not really like industrial. It's like
it's the Evanescence, early 2000s.
Hot,
it is.
Hot topic.
It
goth.
really is.
But in a good way. I say none of this
Yeah.
as like a slight. I am genuinely like I have affection.
Yeah, and genuinely both first movies are great.
They're a lot
both
of
them.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they center around these like very vivid female protagonists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Back at it.
What else? Like, did we like explain? Like, can you summarize it as quickly as
plot?
possible? Yeah, because it's so convoluted. I just want to hear an attempt.
Under my umbrella, Ella.
I
I do love the Umbrella Corporation. We could get deep for a second. I do think it was weird. It was interesting watching it now because the overriding, like, the whole thing once you get to the end. So you have this evil corporation, the Umbrella Corporation, very iconic logo.
Yeah.
Looks like a red and white umbrella. That is basically... there's a virus. Oh wait, you guys
already lost.
But like the whole thing is like
they're working on
warfare.
bioweapons.
It's called the T virus.
Yeah.
People
It has
who are
an
like
antidote.
apparently a lot of
blue
main
one.
characters in some capacity are immune to it for whatever reason.
A very cinematic virus because it will do whatever you need it to do.
Yes.
Whenever you want. Like, will it turn a dog into a giant monster? Yes.
Yeah.
Will it turn a guy into a zombie? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it travel through the air? Sometimes. Does it travel through the sprinkler system? Occasionally.
Yeah.
Like, just whatever you need this thing to do, it will do.
Yes.
But that basically the crux of the thing, and there's clones, and then people aren't who you think they are, and you find out that people are clones the whole time, whatever. But you get to the end of this thing, and it's like this corporation basically like wants to wipe out the planet, cryogenically freeze the 1% basically, and take over the Earth.
That's
which is
fucked up.
like, I felt a little like it was a little weirdly like horrific on the nose. And just a little scary. Like I thought that would like, all these rich people cryogenically freezing themselves to like then remake the Earth in their own image. Fuck the 1%.
But only after creating mutant monsters.
Mutant monsters. Well, I don't get the plan per se. I didn't say it was a good plan, and I don't think it works in the long run. But
I just want a lot of Mila's running around.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, the Millas. I don't think I've seen. Well, there are like a bunch of Milla clones in
The third one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that the third one brings back the iconic look, the red dress and boots, which is
But
fun.
also evolves into a fashion line designed by
always
Mila's
a clone. Don't forget.
own fashion company.
Is this legit?
The look she wears in the
Is
third
her
one is
own
her
fashion
own,
line?
Yeah, and that's why it looks amazing.
My God, Milla.
It is literally the other iconic look.
That is a baller move.
desert one.
Yeah, the fucking desert one with the
scarves
like
and
garters
stuff.
or
She has
whatever.
that fashion mullet, too.
Yeah, she has that amazing hair, the duster.
Oh
It's
my
all.
God.
I love
I
that.
want to buy
movie.
these clothes. Does she still have a fashion line?
I don't know.
We should all look so fabulous.
Yeah. So that one was really great, and that one is extra great because it does introduce a new character played by Ellie Larder.
Lots of 90s black.
Who
Blast
on
from the
IMDb they said that they hired her for her amazing work in the first two Final Destination movies.
I want to do that series. Somebody give us
Final
that as an
Destination?
episode because I've never seen them.
Tony Todd is
First
in it. Xena.
Hey, there's always a connection.
All right, so
Yes,
that's a
let's talk
really
about
important introduction of a character. She is from the game, Claire.
I think so.
Redfield.
Yeah, because she's the sister of Chris Redfield.
Who's like a main player.
Yeah.
And I think,
But I think
it's
she's
like
more
a
main.
star in later games.
In the movies, she seems more main than him.
Chris?
Yeah.
In the movies, yeah.
Yeah, and that's because she's awesome and badass,
Yeah.
and I guess we can ship them.
Oh, we can totally ship them.
I ship her and Michelle Rodriguez.
That was a
They
really
had
interesting
a
thing.
really nice rapport in the first movie.
They did. There
And-
was one scene where she was like, Alice was like petting her. 'Cause,
Well,
yeah, it
that
was-
plot, it was really upsetting. She gets like, the slow infection falling prey to the zombie virus
Yeah, I mean,
thing.
I would say that was like the heart of the movie, honestly,
It's
because
got
that was a true
some
character
emotional bits.
character moment.
And I appreciate it that it wasn't like the more tropey, like character keeping it a secret. Oops,
Right.
I'm bitten
She
by the
could've.
zombie.
And also that it wasn't like one time. Like she
Yeah.
actively kept getting bitten
because she was
throughout the
super
movie.
heroic and
Yeah.
throwing herself in the way of the zombies.
It was
So she got
really
bit a whole bunch
good.
of times. By the halfway point, she basically knows like
Yeah.
what her fate will be, and she powers through, hoping for a cure.
Well, there is an antidote.
Yeah.
And they're very close to
They're
it.
very close. It's very sad and tragic.
She gets
There's a
administered
funny
it.
little comedy beat where you think she has been zombified and she hasn't, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, Michelle, you're good quality, and then whoops, she's a zombie now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely both the thing that bothered me the most in the first movie because of my fear of this kind of content, but also like I can totally appreciate it that it's kind of the heart of the movie. Yeah. But
Absolutely.
anyway, I loved their relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm over here shipping that.
Yeah, no, totally.
Sorry,
totally.
Claire.
She comes back later as a clone.
Yeah.
A Michelle Rodriguez clone.
Yeah, that was the period of time when Michelle Rodriguez was going around returning to the franchises she's left.
Ah, yes.
So
I
back
like
at
it.
Fast and the Furious as well.
I'm sorry I left you. Franchise apology to her.
Well, my favorite Fast and the Furious movie is the one where she
She
returns.
comes back
yeah.
from the dead.
That's right. Yeah, so I really, really love like the third movie because it is so different. Paul, not Thomas Anderson, did not direct it.
He did not direct it.
was
He
a
didn't
different
direct
man.
the second or the third. He wrote them all.
Okay.
Very much a
Genius
creative
work.
force through them.
The auteur stance.
But yeah, they get an Australian
Yes.
director whose name is a name I will now look up.
Because it's not Paul Anderson.
Yeah,
of
it's
any
not
kind.
some version of Paul. And can you imagine if he was like Darren Q Aronovsky?
Oh my god.
That's really good.
His name is Russell Mulcahy.
Okay.
Yes, and that's a familiar name every time we see it. It's because we watch too much Teen Wolf.
Yes, he's directed many episodes of Teen Wolf.
Yes.
And
So-
yeah, this has its own distinctive.
Yeah,
visual
totally
look.
distinctive. Number one, finding out that he's Australian made so much sense because it really truly has such Mad Max vibes. It's like in a desert, and the striking difference is that it's in fucking sunlight. So there's like zombies in the daylight, and that's
true,
really
and
cool.
it's kind of on location in a way most of those
Yeah,
movies
there's a
are
lot
not.
of desert stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's just really good. Like it just sets it apart, and combined with introduction of Claire, it's all good. It's good. I recommend the first one and that third one big time. Yeah, and it's like westerny, like has a western feel too.
Yeah,
Obviously.
definitely. I mean, I feel like by that point, Alice is this kind of old gunslinger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, with like a gazillion clones. So yeah, and then like I mean, a lot of stuff happens. I feel like they start looking worse and worse. Like it
Which
starts
is interesting
becoming.
because it seems like they made more and more money.
Yeah, isn't that
progressively, But
weird?
maybe that's because their budgets were shrinking.
Exactly. I know. I think it's true. Like some of those like middle chunks, like 5 and 4, look like garbage. Straight up
Oh,
garbage.
yeah.
Like the
And they were
effects look
doing
bad.
the like ultra slow mo, which was very
Yeah.
popular during
Yeah.
this
That time
time,
period, yeah.
kind of post Matrix. And oh my god, that stuff looked very
Yeah, and it was like in the dark. It just like the effects looked so terrible. I can't even explain
yeah.
to you. But then it sort of like rallies for the last one. I think again.
The final chapter.
Yeah. it's like they knew that was like the last one with that crew, so they like tried, you know.
Paul W.S.'s master opus.
Yes, exactly.
And Milla, who, it seems like she really, like, really cares about those movies and, like, stewarded them.
And unlike Kate Beckinsale, she never left a movie
Right.
and hired a clone to do her work.
Yeah, she played her own clothes.
That's right. But Kate eventually came back for that franchise. Yeah, so Resident Evil, I mean, I enjoyed it. There's fandom activity, certainly.
Oh, yes.
Like for the
course.
Alice Claire stuff.
Yeah. No, it's a good ship, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
We'll
sure.
wreck you a vid. We got one for you.
Yeah. And check out some of the movies. And if you want to watch movies that are set in the nighttime with a leather-wearing badass, then check out the Underworlds.
In the nighttime.
She vampire.
What?
That's right, she vampire.
In the nighttime.
Yeah.
Yes.
The best we can say about them is that they're set in the nighttime.
Unlike Resident Evil, which could be set at any time of day.
But you can't talk, because sometimes it's just indoors.
Sometimes it's just inside the whole time.
Yeah,
You never
in a green
know. Is it
screen.
noon?
You just don't know.
Is it midnight? Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really cool. It's a really fun franchise. I think the first one is definitely like legit good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says you can do a video game movie. You can do it. It can be done.
Yeah.
It's not done often well, but it can be done well.
We found out from the trivia that so many Buffy and Angel people were trying to get in for the first movie.
So it seems like they were basically trying to make this, not long after the first Resident Evil game came out. So like, late 90s. So when Buffy was at its most popular.
And of course, we didn't mention that George Romero was highly involved originally.
Well,
and then booted
booted
off.
Right. I mean, like if you're actually
booted off. They booted.
They did not.
The
They didn't like
king
it.
of zombie horror.
They were like,
off.
your script is not as good as Genius.
Never mind.
He's
Paul
always
Douglas.
getting booted off Hollywood's
Yeah.
takes on zombies, which is sad. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's interesting that it feels like the Resident Evil games and then later the movies like kind of announced the renaissance of the zombies that we are still kind of
dealing
in.
with.
Maybe.
So thanks, Resident Evil.
But but before, you were about to say they were like looking at hiring Sarah
Yes.
Gellar and David Boreanaz.
Yes.
Both.
So if you watch the first movie, the character what is it, Matt, he has pointy hair, so they were like, we need pointy hair man.
To be
Let's
fair,
get
everyone
David
had that.
Boreanaz.
Yeah.
At the time.
World's pointiest hair from the 90s.
Though I'd like to see him play the James Pure
We got it.
We can't say this actor's name.
No, but he's perfectly cast as this like smarmy asshole. Yeah. You might know him now from Sex Education.
I was going to know her from Rome as Mark Antony.
Right.
Another connection sort of to Xena.
Carnival.
We're making those connections.
But yeah, I would have liked to see David Boreanaz play the kind of evil, squirrely man.
He chose to do Angel, the television
And then
show,
he
instead.
played Angelus as a
That's
squirmy,
your evil, squirrely man.
Yeah.
Probably an excellent choice for him.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Right, so
I don't
that's
know why
Resident
I know
Evil.
Sarah Michelle Gellar, but
I don't really see her.
I think it's the
they
case
made a
of
wise
they won in the
choice.
end. With
Yeah, I
Milla
think
Jovovich.
Milla was the right choice. Yeah, I feel
Totally
like
the right
probably
choice.
Sarah Michelle Gellar looked at it and said, "Well, this is kind of close, to
Maybe-
Buffy."
probably,
I
like,
mean,
I don't
not
wanna do
really in
similar.
terms of the tone,
like
but
we-
the visuals.
full circle to the beginning with all of the kick-ass roles. Like, I don't want to do this,
Yeah,
maybe.
Gotta do something else. Scooby Doo, it is.
Scooby Doo it is!
Scooby Doo it is. Those Scoobies are good. Okay.
All right, someone asked for that minisode.
Oh, wow. I was, like, about to go on a real tangent and start talking about how, like, Matthew Lillard is really good
At acting.
I think he's a genuinely good actor, and he's a really nice guy on the tweets.
Yep.
Anyway.
Okay.
Sorry,
Very
that
good.
scene.
Very good.
Anyway.
So we said we were going to talk about
Yeah.
other horror movies now.
Uh-huh.
Shall we do that? Should some
Shall
of them,
we do that?
Should some of them be about zombies? I don't know. Like I said, I'm done with zombies.
You're done.
Yeah,
Just
I'm just done with them.
So I have a recommendation for everyone based on that comment then, completely random, not necessarily stuff that we've been like recently watching to chit-chat about, but these two refuse to watch it. It's like one of the best horror movies of recent times. It is a zombie movie called Train to Busan. You can go watch that right now. Just go watch it. It's super emotional and wonderful and great. That's my
I guess it's
recommendation
different,
to
right?
you.
Because it's zombies on a train.
Sure.
That
It's
hasn't
zombies
done-
on a train.
No, you haven't done that before, so.
Go watch that. That's my rec.
I would recommend that one episode of The Walking Dead.
The one episode only.
Jeez.
Do you need?
I think you've actually recommended that one
Yeah,
episode on the
it's
podcast
really
Do you
good.
need
before.
like
That's all.
context though?
No.
I don't know.
No one cares.
No one
What-
cares.
what
I don't actually don't even remember. The one with the kid.
Carol and the kid.
Carol and the Kid.
Okay.
That's the one. You can just Google that. Carol and the Kid, Walking Dead.
Every now and again, I want to check in on Carol.
Yeah.
See
She's
what
still on it.
Oh, yeah, she's going to spin
She's
off.
like she's, you know what? That's one of my favorite things about The Walking Dead
Yes,
is
Melissa McBride's
how,
career.
yes, that
Yes.
happened, and good for her.
Yes.
Are you guys going to watch the new spinoff, the kind of like
I
young adult spinoff?
have not seen it. It has started. I think...
Well,
I don't know how good it's supposed to be per se, but I think it plays into stuff that Vera has
Yeah.
said that she has liked, which is like building a society.
but also how it
In a
affects
weird
children, which is
circumstance.
the episode
The
that I'm
episode
just
you
talking
like,
about.
yeah.
That is one of the kind of newer sort
So
of
you
things
sound like
that
the
people...
target audience for whatever it is, the world
beyond.
The world
Yeah.
Yeah,
beyond.
it's a time jump. It follow like all the
Right.
teens in it, or like were born in the
Yeah.
after times.
Gen Z of apocalypse. Gen Zombie.
Oh man, why didn't they call it that?
Aw,
Missed opportunity.
So anyway, so moving away from zombies and to other horror movies,
Yeah.
hit me with it.
All right. Well, hit you with what?
Hit us
Anything?
with it.
Okay. So we talked about looks. This is Resident Evil is a huge franchise,
Yeah.
right? One thing that has been fun about this spooky season for me has been revisiting/visiting for the first time some installments in... maybe this is really basic, so I'm so sorry. But like my favorite franchise of horror movies, which is Halloween... I'm so basic. I really am. I'm sorry.
I don't think it's that basic.
But like we have been watching.
Basic is Scream.
Oh my God.
Sorry, Vera.
Oh,
Is it?
I don't know.
I
It's
don't
more.
know.
It's Halloween stretches such a long.
I just
FYI,
feel like just
FYI.
in terms of the depths of horror that exists, me sitting here going, "Guess what's good? Halloween." It's not really like anything revolutionary, but I just love it. They like freak me out. I think it's one of those things that's movies that you see when you're little still manage to like strike fear in you because you have this like deep-rooted connection with some of it. So like something like Halloween with the score and Michael Myers, who I do think is pretty terrifying. Vera does not. We can fight about it.
It doesn't make any sense.
Or like It, things like that that you saw, like I saw when I was little, that it's just like just the music or the sound of something, you're just like, but the first one is obviously like so amazing. But I really, really loved the new one, the 2018, and rewatched it for the first time since we saw it in the theater. Remember theaters, and it's really, really great. I think it's worth watching if you haven't seen it. And then we've also been going through and kind of watching the like sort of garbage in the middle, that is also really fun. And I haven't seen some of it, so that's been really fun. And then also, this is very, very, very particular and not for everyone, and pretty dark and grim and gross. But if you're at all inclined and like the Halloween movies, and you think you might hate these, maybe you won't. I recommend the Rob Zombie ones because they are very fascinating and emotional in strange ways. And I just...
and they try to like get into the
rewatch
character stuff, which is what I care about.
They actually try. I feel like Rob Zombie must have some of Vera's issues with Michael
Yeah,
Myers.
for
Like
sure.
he actually wants to give him a psychology, which
Yeah.
is pretty
Right.
fascinating, and obviously broke the movies for some fans.
Yeah, me as well,
Yeah.
but which is why I like them, because I think it takes some of the stuff that became so inherent to the franchise, which is like Laurie Strode, who's the Jamie Lee Curtis character, and Michael Myers are siblings. Like I sort of actually like, and that it takes over the whole franchise. I actually like it. Only works for me in the Rob Zombies. Like
because they're about a
H2O
family.
a little
Yeah.
bit. H2O it works
H2O.
in the sense that like if I must put up with it. H2O is kind of interesting. But the 2018 one, the David Gordon Green erases it, which is in a kind of cringy line, but I don't care because they're getting rid of it, and that's fine by me. But yeah, so that's been kind of like one of my big things for this spooky season.
Yeah.
We also watched Bly Manor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Which has a very nice gay romance at the
Yeah.
center of it.
I wouldn't call it a center. It was more like
it should have been.
a periphery
center.
that
Yeah.
was kind of how it
It
ended.
became the center.
Yeah, right. But it should have been from
yeah.
the beginning.
Yeah, I think we're a little disappointed as fans of The Haunting of Hill House.
Right.
Which is the superior Mike Flanagan haunting season.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little disappointed in Blind Manor. I must say.
Yeah, I'm like
But
angrily
the cast was
disappointed.
great.
Yeah, of course.
The cast was great. The setting is great. Sue doesn't love a spooky house, as we said.
I love a spooky
And this
house.
one was very spooky.
Yeah.
It has some fun ideas, but yeah, it just did not come together at
No.
all. Which is sad, because Mike Flanagan, I feel like up till now, at least for me, could do no wrong. All of his
stuff.
movies are great.
Yeah. And especially, like, just loving Hill House and how, for the most part, that I thought that did everything correctly, which is insane scares, crazy mood, very believable characters, which were, you know, like, it's talky, but because, you know, you need to explain some people, and then you have the fucking scares to, like, get you back in it when you're trying to fall asleep listening to the talking, and that works.
Whiskey all over your couch because
Yeah.
he employs the jump scare in Hill House that is the best one.
Yeah.
I have to say is basically my favorite jump scare in the history of cinema because usually they're really cheap.
Plus the music always gives it away.
Right. And they're just, you know, and especially, like in just silly bad horror movies, like they're really easy. Like they put you in a mood, and yeah, they can be scary, but at the same time, it's like doesn't mean anything. But that if you've seen Hill House, you know the jump scare that we're talking about. It is actually like really emotionally charged and is there for a reason.
Yeah.
And is also like so scary.
Yeah.
Literally all of our drinks went all over the couch. Never hold a drink while watching a horror movie that is actually scary, or a TV show.
Well, that's always my favorite, is when you're watching a horror movie and you kind of feel like shit might be going down and everybody starts putting their drinks down.
Time to put down the beverage. Let me just gently place this here for now.
Liv, you mentioned earlier Scream, and I was going to say that Kevin Williamson, I believe, was involved with this Resident Evil in the beginning.
Like everybody in Hollywood took a stab at Resident Evil.
But I'm glad he didn't go near it, because I don't need that.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I think that's kind of obvious. He also was involved in H2O.
Oh, that makes more sense. That makes
time period.
more sense.
Michelle Williams, Dawson's Creek time.
Yeah, no, but it like that, I could see that
Josh
being
Hartnett's hair in
Scream.
H2O is such a just relic.
It's a
It belongs
quarantine
in a
cut.
museum.
It didn't hold up as well as I wanted it to. H2O.
It's a little bit bad. I mean, there are still parts that are great.
The good parts is
the
what
good parts are good.
But
makes
yeah, I
me
think the
recommend
previous
it.
time we watched this was before the 2018 Halloween.
It was
and
the best one you could
2018
get.
Halloween kind of ruined H2O. We used to just kind of clutch H2O because it was like, finally Laurie gets her moment. And now it's like, yeah, she got a better one
I
later.
think that my personal take is that those two movies talk to each other. You can write a paper about them.
Sure.
The two different Lauries presented to you. I definitely prefer certain aspects of Laurie from H2O versus the other one, but ultimately the 2018 version is like the best sort of like, I guess, what is it? What do you call it out of the Halloweens besides the first one? But
franchise?
Yeah, franchise.
Oh,
Speaking of franchises, we've been also watching the Chuckies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
We've been doing a lot of goofy stuff.
I've never seen those, so
We
therefore,
watched the original.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then we continued, and
Yeah.
I just things like Bride of Chucky, like I'd never seen that, and it was really really fun.
They're funny. They really hit like the first three. I think are in like the same vein. They're funny, but they're genuinely trying to be like scary. They have a very specific tone.
Yeah.
And then once you hit the Jennifer Tilly like Bride of Chucky stuff, it like descends into pure camp. And it is hilarious.
And
They're funny AF.
Brad Dourif is so funny.
Your
I
boy.
can't handle it. I love him. But like to recommend like some serious stuff, we've also been doing the Criterion Channel's 70s horror
Listen, we're smart
collection. And that stuff is really, really good. I mean, my favorite stuff is like the 70s horror.
made the best horror.
Because it was so
Yeah.
batshit and like no rules apply to it, and like you can just find some random ass
No
70s
rules apply
horror
because it
movie.
was like,
Yeah.
establishing itself.
was so
sort
good.
of. I mean,
just freeing.
a lot of crazy crazy stuff going on in that decade.
One of our favorites is Black Christmas. I can't remember
love
if we've
Black
ever
Christmas.
mentioned it on
I think
the
we must have. I
podcast.
feel like I talk about it all the time.
But yeah,
that's the proto-slasher before Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Billy. Yeah, so good.
it's very sophisticated.
Yeah.
And has some complex things to say, kind of about
my-
women,
yeah.
men and women.
Really
Yeah.
unexpected. Like
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff that you can watch it and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe they're like actually, have these plots. Like
Yeah.
it's so good. So it's not just about like the gore or the horror or whatever. It's just what am I watching? What the fuck is this? This is amazing kind of feeling. Criterion Channel. I'm trying to think of weird ones that we saw.
Criterion, the shelf that they curated is just 70s movies.
Yeah, it's a 70s
and there's ones that we'd seen, so we haven't rewatched them recently, and we've been watching some new to us stuff. But there's some like really, really great ones on there, like Don't Look Now.
Yes.
Which is like that. I'm just gonna list like recommendations. Don't Look Now, you should watch.
How Sue?
You should absolutely watch.
And like be drunk for it or
I watched a
high.
couple of the like Brian De Palmas that are on there. Sisters. If you want to watch that, like also with Black Christmas, that might make a good Margot Kidder.
Yes.
A movie called Let's Scare Jessica to Death.
That one's memorable.
Stephen King loves that movie.
That one is really memorable.
I believe that is a movie that Stephen King would like.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of like there's just movies where it's just like what.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? You're just like,
what? What did I just watch? What is this? Like, yeah, that's the feeling that I like.
You're on some other
Which is really
wavelength.
great.
Yes, totally.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Of course.
That's not on the thing, but
that's
I think
so good.
from the 70s, I think like the classics are really Texas Chainsaw, Black Christmas. Yeah, those are really big, and some of my personal favorites. So if you have not seen those, you should.
I think that wraps it up for us, right?
I could just like randomly sit here and like just
Name
yammer
horror
about
movies we like.
Yeah, just a list for an hour of like movies you should watch.
Well, the Mike Flanagan, we mentioned him, all his
Flanagan's
stuff.
pretty
before
Dr.
that.
Sleep.
Dr. Sleep
got kind of a bad reputation because it was a bomb, but it's excellent.
Guys, if you want to see Rebecca Ferguson in a gentleman
top
jack hat,
Yes.
go watch that movie.
Who wouldn't want to watch that? She like wears this amazing outfit, like a yoga outfit, kind of to do evil yoga, and it's incredible.
It's so good, yeah. But yeah, horror movies great. Resident Evil great.
Yeah, it was
Milla
fun
Jovovich,
revisiting it,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, totally. I felt very happy like rewatching it. It was really terrifying how much like it was familiar, like way more than I thought.
It's memorable.
It brings you back too,
Yeah.
because it is so specific while being sort of iconic, as we say.
Yeah. Iconique.
Iconic. That should be the name of Mila's fashion line.
So thank you, Martina, for suggesting this topic and for your patronage, of course.
Yes,
thank you so much. And I believe that wraps it up for us. So you can follow us on all the stuff and things.
Yes, we're on what is it? The internet.
Yeah.
XenaWarriorPodcast.com. You can find all the links to everything over there. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, where you can subscribe and rate and leave reviews, which we always love to read. And you can listen to podcasts like wherever you can find them, including Spotify.
Yeah.
We are on Twitter at XenaWarriorPod and Facebook, Xena Warrior Podcast, and Patreon, which is patreon.com/Xena Podcast, I believe. And you can, if you are so inclined, continuing our IMDb experience with Lucy Lawless's wonderful career. We just recently posted an episode about Spartacus, and we'll be moving on from there shortly.
The Bar.
The Passion.
The podcast. Happy Halloween.
Ooh.